welcome to this episode. This is an episode on advertising, and we will be discussing the impact and the role of media in the field of advertising in this episode. In some of our previous episodes, we have talked about some of the issues involved already. Like, for example, we have discussed what is communication, what is the role of media in communication, what are the different forms of media, and what are the relative advantages and disadvantages of using the different forms of media. In particular, we have focused attention on the print media, notably the newspapers and the magazines. We have also talked about the electronic media, and we have tried to cover radio and television, which are the most popular modes of communication in the electronic media. And what are the relative merits and demerits of using these media thereof is what we have discussed in some of our previous episodes. Now, in this episode, we are going to focus on some other forms of media, like the outdoor media or the out of the home media, which also play a very significant role in the process of communication. What do we mean by outdoor
So
media?
like billboards,
Poster
Billboards,
hoardings.
hoardings. These are all outdoor media because they are, or many people refer to them as out of the home media. You get to you are exposed to that medium when you are out of the home.
So then moving vans that are
Yeah,
used now.
transit media we talked about in one of our episodes, where the medium itself could be moving from one place to another physically, and therefore could be carrying the message around in different parts of the city or the area that it is localized in. So now, what are the advantages of such media? Like, for example, billboards and hoardings and all. What is the advantage?
So it's
Very
an,
eye-catching.
Eye-catching.
Very eye-catching.
Plus reach is
Very eye-catching?
wide.
Yes,
Reach is also wide.
Okay.
sir, and it is also non-paid because you don't have to pay to watch a billboard in the road, or you
Okay.
don't have to pay to watch the posters in the road. So
Okay.
it's a non-paid form of communication.
As far as the receiver is
Receiver
concerned,
is
the receiver
concerned.
is receiving that communication free of cost.
Yeah.
Free of
He is
cost.
not having to subscribe to a given medium.
So like
It is
for
coming
Television.
newspaper
free.
he has
Yeah.
to buy it, or
Right.
for
Television.
journals he has to buy it, or for TV he has to pay
Pay
to
the-
the
Absolutely. So it's an
Cable
unpaid,
operator.
Non-paid form of
reception
communication.
communication by the receiver. However, the sponsor will have to pay for it because billboards and outdoor media are sold out. Space is sold out.
Yes.
Times are sold out, and therefore you have to book space and time for that. Now, fine. Outdoor media. One big advantage, they are, the cutouts are huge, larger than life kind of an image can be built around a
so
brand.
the visual appeal
Visual
is
appeal is high.
very
When you're
high.
watching something on television, it's
Very
coming on
high.
a small screen. But then when you're watching that same particular brand
Billboard.
in all colors, okay, and it's put on a billboard in a very strategic location in the locality that you travel widely, then you are exposed to that brand in a size bigger than
So it
life
looks
size.
more.
Okay,
So it looks more real.
it looks more real. The dramatizing effect of that size is big, and there are advantages that go with it. Okay, any other?
So in
A lot of
case,
people get to see it because it's outdoor,
yes,
and
sir.
people have to go out for some work or the other all the time.
Wide
And therefore, if you are able to get a strategic location for the display, then you are going to catch the attention of a lot of people in one, let's say in a day itself, and varied groups of people would be exposed to it. Some of whom may not be the right kind of audience for it, but then it'll reach out to the right kind of audience as well, because people will be on the streets for some reason or the other. Okay, so it can act as a frequency builder. It can, and the point is, it has got a long life.
Yes.
Coupled with the fact that normally a billboard with an ad message will be there for display for, let's say, fairly long duration of time,
Yes,
maybe a
sir.
week at least,
Yes.
or maybe longer than that. Now that affords a lot of what is called opportunity to see. Lot of people will be exposed to that message because of the long life of the ad message that is going to be afforded by this kind of medium. That's another advantage. It is possible to revisit the message, but at the same time, there are issues which are not so favorable with as far as this medium is concerned. And what are those points? What are the issues which are not so conducive as far as the outdoor media are concerned? What do you think are some of the issues that are not very conducive?
So the exposure time is very short because people are in motion, so they might
Yeah,
not catch
that's
the
an
ad.
important thing. It is outdoor, and people normally are outdoor because of some reason. They are out on business, so they are traveling most of the time, and in traveling they are watching the billboard. So they maybe are not in a mood to receive the information. They have no time for it or little time for it. They are unable to concentrate on the message. They do not want to concentrate on the message most
So
of
there
the
is
time.
a low attention.
So the attention, although a lot of people, you're making up in terms of volume, but the per capita attention devoted to a message on
That's
outdoor is
very
not very
low.
high, and it's fleeting at the same time. So how much really can you pass on as a message to the receiver is a question, and that's not very high. That's a drawback for the outdoor medium. Any other thing?
So there's a very poor reputation attached to this kind of medium because there's
Why, Shani? Why do you think there's a poor reputation attached to this?
so there's visual pollution because people might think
Absolutely.
that there is forced selling on part of the advertisers.
Correct.
So they're constantly facing ads.
Yeah.
So
So
that-
there's a visual pollution. That's exactly the issue. That
So even there is a blog visibility.
yeah, that's right. It blocks visibility many a time, and that's dangerous because on thoroughfares, if the visibility is not good enough, it could lead to accidents even.
Accidents.
And many people complain that they cover up important locations,
Yeah.
and the visibility thereby comes down even further. And many people are not at all happy with the fact that important facades, important buildings are covered by outdoor media,
Boards.
and they're trying to impose selling messages onto you. They're intruding onto your privacy, and you don't want them to do so. Although you're outdoor means your privacy is anyway compromised. It is further compromised with the fact that you're always being showered with selling messages, advertising messages, looking down from billboards wherever you're going, wherever you're traveling. And it defocuses your purpose. It kind of draws your attention, and you're not happy with that. And there's a lot of public opinion against outdoor medium in general, because people feel that
So
there's a lot
it's
of
not
intrusion,
not at all environmental friendly.
and it may not be environmentally friendly also. People are not much in favor of this medium, although this medium is not so unpopular at the same time. Okay. Now, any other thing?
So there's a zoning restriction because
Yeah, it is localized to a zone. Normally, an advertiser has to select where the message will be displayed, in what particular strategic location, and he would select depending on the kind of people that reside around that locality, or the kind of people who come to visit that locality. If that is a business district, then people have to think about office goers. They have to keep the office goers in mind. So you can, to some extent, depending on the location, reach out to a particular type of an audience. Like as I said, if you are going to advertise in a central business district, which is an office area, then you are likely to expose the message to a lot of people who are professionals. And that may not be easy with the help of a medium that goes into your home, because the professional is out of home most of the time, let's say. And when he's getting back home, he does not want to watch ads, if anything. So it's one way, it's good that you are able to grab the attention of people who are going out to work, and when they are out to work, you could possibly send them messages which are pertaining to their work or related to their work somehow or the other. That's one advantage also. Fine, so this is another medium that has played a significant role in advertising. Now there are other media as well which are not so popular like the broadcasting media or the print media.
So like direct mail.
Direct mail
mail.
is a form of medium as well, and it is increasingly becoming more and more popular, as you would know. Now, and all of you, I think you are exposed to direct mails coming from different companies and different advertisers for different brands or different services,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So you would know, you are recipients of that, you are receivers of such mails. Now, what is your impression, or no, what is your impression? Who would tell us about the direct mail?
Sir, it selects. There are highly selective customers
Okay.
to whom they select, to whom they send this direct mail.
Absolutely.
So-
in fact, the basic premise of this direct mail, in fact, people term that as database marketing. That means you're starting off with a particular group of customers
So
in
there
mind.
is a purposive database to whom they send
Absolutely.
the mail.
There's a purposive database, and database tailor-made for a particular reason,
Reason.
and it is these people only who would receive that communication. That
Communication.
means you are focused about who are going to be the target audience, and to that effect, it is rather concentrated and well focused on the target audience that it has in mind.
The
Okay.
message is actually, that means tailor-made for the need of the customer.
Absolutely, and that is one good advantage of a medium, because it lets you tailor make the message for the recipient. It allows you to be a little flexible, and you can design a message depending on the personal preference of that individual who is going to receive that message. It is in fact a micro marketing case, and you are able to go beyond the mass marketing techniques and tailor make the marketing communication to the extent possible. However, it is not possible to tailor make every marketing message for every recipient of the direct mail. But then it's a group of people, it's a database of people who are going to receive a similar message. And that in itself is a specialization. Okay, fine. Any other advantage you see in this?
So then they can get the measurable results. The results
right.
can be measured.
That's right. Because you're operating with a conscious database, therefore you
Database.
know who are the people receiving it, so that you can measure results. And how many of these people ultimately end up, subscribing to that product or that service
Using
is
that
something that
product.
you could possibly track, and therefore you could measure the effectiveness of this medium far more than any of the other media that we have discussed so far. Like with the radio or television, it's so very difficult to measure the effectiveness of reach. Okay, but here you know what the reach is going to be. The reach is in fact decided by you
Yes.
in advance, and then you are able to measure the impact of that reach because you can see the effect it is having on the target audience. So measurability is a very important point in favor of this medium, and that is what has driven this medium to popular heights.
So it's a little communicative also.
It is quite communicative because you are able to tailor the message according to the likings of the respondent, and you hope that it is going to gel with his preferences, and therefore it is a good marketing effort. Now, would you like to find out what is wrong with this medium?
So it's very costly.
It is very costly.
Because
Yes, it
it's,
is costly because you
per
are
message.
targeting a far limited number of
limited.
people, and you are having to come up with the message all the same. So the per capita cost of delivering that message is quite high. So that way, it is an expensive proposition to reach out to a select group of people with that message. Agreed. Anything else?
It has a long lead time because
There is a long lead time. Yes, because the recipient can.
Pre-preparation.
No, first of all, from the point of view of the marketer or the sender, there's a long lead time because one has to first of all prepare the database. One has to look at the database with a lot of interest and make modifications to that. Leave out some more people or include some other people. So the churning in that database would go on. It's something that is quite normal to direct mail marketers, that there's always a churning of the database that they deal with. And otherwise, what is going to happen is you are going to be saddled with a database which might have people who may not be the right kind of people, and some of the people may not be relevant, and on afterthought you would like to remove them from the database. And there are some more people you would want to add. So you keep on modifying the database from time to time, and to do a good job of this, it takes a lot of time. The lead time is quite high, and you have to put in place a lot of action before you actually contemplate the receiver receiving the message from your side and reacting to that. Lead times can be quite high. Okay. And for the what about the lead time from the point of view of the recipient? He has got a lot of time to react. If he wants
Yeah.
to, he can choose his own time to react, and at his own pace he
So
could
feedback is not
possibly give you
immediate.
feedback. May not be immediate, and the recipient is under no obligation to give you an immediate feedback. He can choose to defer the feedback or even drop the idea of giving a feedback altogether. He can do that. So the feedback part of it is voluntary. It is left to the respondent or the recipient to either do it or not do it. There's a usual perception that we receive a lot of junk mail.
yes,
Junk
Don't you think
junk,
so?
junk
So
mail.
that is a positive limitation. People are quite exasperated with the amount
Sometimes
of
mails which are irrelevant to us,
correct.
which we
All
don't.
of us have been exposed to we
Yes,
all
such
know that we
mails.
have been at the receiving end of a lot of junk mail.
mails.
A lot of marketing mails come across, and many of which we are very
We ignore.
indignant to receive, and we are not at all happy with the fact that we receive so much of mail. Our mail boxes are always full many a time, okay, and we are not happy about it. So there's an usual grouse on the part of the receiver that we receive a lot more mail, and a lot of that is junk, okay, and no one is happy about it. So one has to fight against that public notion of receiving a lot of junk mail and do a good job, which is an obstacle that one has to overcome and then make meaning. Okay, so these are some of the important issues pertaining to the direct mail as a medium. I hope we will be able to make use of this information and knowledge when we are trying to encode a message in any of the different medium and trying to reach out to the target audience. Now, can we for a few minutes turn our attention to another very interesting medium, the telemarketing medium. Telemarketing is a form of communication. We all agree.
Yes.
We receive a lot of telecalls,
Yes, sir.
and we know a lot of things about them. So again, let me find out from you people, what do you think are the issues involved for telemarketing? How should a marketer perceive this particular medium when he's trying to understand people's likes and dislikes about this medium? What are the strong points of telemarketing? Who would tell us?
So
Fine,
in,
Anindita, we'll take it from you.
so in case of telemarketing, it is a very personalized form of communication.
Yes, again, similar to direct
Direct
mail.
mail.
Direct mail,
Yes.
correct.
It is an extension of that. In the direct mail, there is no personal contact, but then in a telemarketing, there is a personal contact.
Yes,
Somebody
yeah.
is on the other side of the phone,
Yes.
and he or she is trying to tell you something which is a marketing message encoded in a particular format. They're trying to make a canned presentation of a product or a brand or a service, whatever it might be. So they are trying to reach out personally. So to a very large extent, there is the scope and room for personalization.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Fine.
then there's a real-time interaction between the sender and the receiver.
That's a big advantage because there is human interface here. The receiver is a human being, and the sender is also there online and real time. There's a real time interaction going on. The sender sending the communication, the receiver receiving it, and giving a feedback, all happening concurrently. Now, this is a major advantage for a telemarketing medium, which is absent in many of the other media that we have discussed. They are all one-way kind of communication. Mostly, they are one-way. The newspapers, the magazines, the radio, and the television are all one-way media, and they do not encourage a feedback. Or even if they do, it's not a real-time feedback. Okay, there's always a lag between the recipient receiving the information and giving a feedback. But then here, it is all happening real time. And therefore, that's a major plus for this particular medium. Okay?
Yes.
So then, as compared to the direct mails, this telemarketing is more attention-catching.
Yes.
It
Now, that's
attracts-
because, after all, if there's a person on the other side of the phone, I mean, how long and how far can you ignore that person?
Yes, sir.
It becomes a little discourteous on the part of the receiver to bang the telephone down or shut the discussion immediately. So people put in a little bit more patience and people try to give it a little more attention. However, trying that might be on the part of the recipient, but then that is what we tend to do. Even if we receive a lot of telecalls, we are not happy about it, we still hear out what the person at the other end has to say most of the time rather than not. So therein lies the catch that it does get eventually a lot more attention than much of the other passive media do. Okay.
We might think that it is more like an obligation to listen to that call.
Yes, it is an
And-
imposition at the same time. We
Yes.
don't want to, but then we feel that we need to.
Yes.
And therefore, the gain is a marketer's. He gets your attention, and if he's able to make an impact, the gains are all his. Okay. But then if he's unable to make that impact, then it's more of an imposition
Yes.
than anything else. Okay. So it gets a lot of attention. It is personalizable. It is something that lends you to measure the results and the
Results are
outcome, and
measurable.
it is highly selective.
Select, yeah.
Okay. Anindita, can you take us through some of the demerits of the telemarketing thing?
So it is a sort of costly, non-economical.
It is costly. After all, there's a telephone call involved. If
Yes.
nothing else, there's a telephone call involved. And looking up which telephone numbers you would ring up and who are the people who would not receive telephone calls, there's an effort behind it. So all that goes into building up the cost per call. Okay, it's not just the cost of the call, but the effort in trying to generate a database out of which people will receive calls and some of whom may not receive calls.
Yes.
So there is a managerial attention, a focused effort that has to go into it, and that raises the cost of the endeavor altogether.
Yes.
Okay, so it can be a little more costly than direct mail.
Direct
In direct mail, at least there is no other medium. The telephone is not involved; it's absent. It's only the mail that can go through, and that's not as expensive as the telephone call.
Yeah.
Okay, that is more expensive. Okay, admitted.
So it is more intrusive. It has an ugly image.
It is intrusive, yes,
Yeah.
and that is exactly the point we were trying to say. There are many pesky calls we receive, and at very important junctures, when you're in a meeting, you receive a call, and you're very angry about it.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
you're in the middle of an important discussion. There's a call that comes in, and it intrudes, and
It
people are very
interferes the
offended many a
privacy.
time.
Yeah.
It intrudes on the privacy
Privacy
of
of
people.
the
Right. So, and people are damn unhappy about it, and there's a lot of public opinion against this. And in fact, as you would know, if you're reading the newspapers, you would know this, that the telecommunication companies are being told to bring in place policies which are going to restrict the number of calls you can make, and people can choose to, shut out calls which are telemarketing calls. So there's always a lot of public opinion against the use of telemarketing as a medium. That's also there. And Ananta, you said ugly image.
Ugly image,
Yeah, in
yeah.
fact, this is the ugly image. That there are people who are always wanting to make pestering calls, pesky calls. People don't want to receive them. They're showering you with information, most of which is useless. You don't want to receive it. Junk calls, in fact. And they are intruding. So the image of telemarketing has not been a very healthy one. But something that the marketers cannot ignore at the same time, because of the versatility of the medium. It reaches out to specific target audiences, and it can be very productive many a time. If the database is properly worked out and the calls are well thought out, then it can really lead to very good and quick results also, which is why the marketers are unable to overlook the importance of this medium. Fine. So I think time for a different medium now, and we ask Amit to
Yes.
tell us a little more about the internet as a medium. A
So-
very exciting medium, very happening medium.
And,
And I
one
think
of the most
you
popular
are the
media.
people who use it more
It's a
than
teenage
maybe people
group.
like me. So you tell me what are the benefits of the internet as a medium from the point of view of the advertiser?
Sir, internet as a medium has broken down all the distance barriers across the globe.
Fantastic. That is the best thing it has done. It has broken down geographical barriers. It has broken down all kinds of barriers, in fact, and it has gone places really.
Places.
This is what has revolutionized. It has revolutionized information exchange, and if advertising is to do with disseminating information,
Yes, sir.
passing on communication, then advertising has definitely gained from the internet as an emerging and evolving medium.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Messages from one part of the world can be sent to another
Absolutely.
part at low cost.
Correct.
And at the same time, I think it is done on a real-time basis, almost on a real-time basis.
Yes.
It is possible.
Yeah, it is something that, as he was saying, it can reach out to far-flung places, and it can even address people on almost on a real-time basis.
Almost on a real-time basis.
Okay, so that's a big advantage. The reach and the potential of this medium are colossal. We cannot even imagine what is the reach of internet. And the advertiser obviously is going to be tempted about this because the reach is enormous and the potential that the medium is going to grow further. The rate of penetration of internet in India is not still as high as it is in many of the developed countries, but then it is growing every day. Okay, and it is attracting a kind of people to it. And you can find people with different specific interest groups on the internet. And there are so many platforms on the internet itself. There are that you can really tailor make your message for different groups, intended groups, and send your communication accordingly. So at one level, it's a mass medium. It can reach out to huge numbers of
But it
people.
can be customized
It can
according to your
customize-
target
Absolutely. It
audience.
can also be customized to a very great extent, and you can do that for different interest groups. Absolutely.
Messages can be personalized.
Right.
In fact.
And do you see that it's a medium that encourages a lot of interaction?
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
people write lots of personal blogs, and
Blogs.
Yeah.
blogs have themselves become such a popular platform for talking about products, brands, and services.
What you want, what the
Yeah.
customer wants,
Yeah.
they can upload it in their blog,
Absolutely.
and according to their wants, according to their demands, that is being customized by the
Absolutely, and look at the kind of
producer.
feedback you're getting. The people who are writing blog sites, you get a great deal of feedback about different products,
Yes.
and companies are using that, as a very important and useful feedback for making improvements of their products. Because these
more
are people who are
development.
far more involved with the product category or the brand in
Yes, sir.
question. The involvement is of a different nature altogether. I mean, it's not everyone who writes a blog, but then people who do are the ones who are so terribly involved with the subject that they deal with on their blog sites that their views count for something and their views count for a great deal. So this is what the companies really worship by way of feedback, and it is really taken into consideration in redesigning the marketing programs and communications of the companies. Okay.
So
People who are using
celebrities
it.
also, like who endorse a particular brand, can advertise the product in their
Yeah.
blog spots.
Yeah,
That
they
is-
actually act as ambassadors for the brand.
Yes. Yes.
And the blog spots
And that's
are
coming-
looked up by the common people, and
Yes.
because they worship the celebrities, there's a lot of positive rub off between the celebrity, the blog, and the ones who are visiting that blog. Okay, so that's great. I think something that is very different from what the other
The
media
media.
have been able to do. Okay. What about the cost? Costs
The
are
cost is
extremely low.
Extremely low.
And that's another major attraction for people who want to be on the internet with their product communications. Costs are extremely low. And you can imagine, you really cannot compare the kind of cost involved here and the kind of cost involved, let's say, for a television spot. Absolutely incomparable. But then, are there certain issues which are not so good about the internet?
Sir, there is a huge clutter. Everybody is
The
fighting
huge
for the
clutter
space.
because of the universality of the medium. Internet has touched all countries and different groups of people in different countries. It breaks barriers, as you said.
Yes.
But at the same time, it has got a limited reach. Now,
Yes.
does that sound contradictory? Maybe, maybe not.
No,
But
because internet is
Internet.
used by mostly by urban people.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
not meant for rural
Rural.
people.
Not meant.
not as yet.
Not-
okay,
not
it
as
might
yet.
be meant, but then it has not been able to penetrate the
To
rural
the
areas.
rural
Yes.
people.
Therefore, it is a lot of the population in a developing country like ours is
As-
shut out from the internet and the benefits thereof. Okay, so it is selective in a country like ours, but in a developed country, it has got a far bigger reach because it reaches out to a large more
Number of-
numbers of people. Herein, the reach is a little limited because of the internet penetration itself not being as high as it
compared
would
to
be,
other.
as compared to many developed countries. Okay. And one more thing is the creative options are not very many. There are limited creative options because people do not visit the internet merely with the objective of understanding products and services, but then they have got more serious pursuits on the internet. Generally speaking, when you go to the internet, you have a specific purpose, okay, and you are not there to look for products and services normally. So your attention is focused somewhere else, and the product is something that pops up, by way of a distraction many a time, and it is also intrusive in a way that it is trying to divert attention from what you are there on the internet for. So these are some of the issues, but then given the versatility of the medium and given the huge potential of the medium, it is the medium of the future. And little can marketers do by way of ignoring, this medium and the potential that's afforded by it. That will be afforded by it in the years to come. I think with this we close the discussion, and I think we have had a very good discussion on the different media platforms and how they could help a marketer get across to his target audience with his message of communication. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
sir.